Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Insert Name Here. It's a podcast about nothing for nobody. If you take it seriously, you're redacted. Let's start the show. Hey.
What's up?
Hello, and welcome to Insert Name Here. It's a podcast about nothing for nobody. If you take it seriously, you're redacted. I'm your co-host, Doug Bennett.
And I'm your other co-host, Seth Nacho. How's it going, guys? I want you to be mine again, baby. Imagine I got a JBL speaker on my shoulder.
Yeah, baby.
By the way, I was talking to Mom on stream, and she said that your sunglasses are okay. She thinks they're cool, that you know, she's enjoying them.
Very good. Thank you. I think so too.
I was like, so Mom, what do you think about the sunglasses? She was like, yeah, they're fine, they're cool.
Yeah, I guess the Spotify people, even though they get exclusive premium content select just for them every week, linked down below in the description, the Spotify people have no idea that I'm on my sunglasses inside ARC.
Yeah. Who knows what's gonna happen next, dude? Cigarettes inside?
Shit, brother. Give me one right now.
Quit holding back on me!
I know we've harped on this before, but like I am feeling the call to, and I've been not a cigarette smoker for
Years.
about a decade at this
Yeah,
point, which is
years.
crazy to say. I'm feeling the call. I think I'm supposed to go back. I think I need to be one of those guys who's still smoking cigarettes in Big 25.
I thought you were gonna reference that video where you were like, yeah, it's 2 p.m. and I'm gonna go to a park and smoke a cigarette and drink.
I mean, Jacob Jones plays a big factor in this urge. Don't get me wrong. But no, I was like listening to some random show, and they were also having a tangent of like, let's be honest, smoking is cool. It looks cool as shit. You see a guy smoking, and you're like, damn, that's awesome.
That guy's cool.
Once you go, you must be bearing the load of so much stress. You just see it in his body language when it pulls. Then another thing I saw this week was like the psychology of how one holds their cigarette and what the hold of a cigarette says about a person.
Okay.
And I was like, damn, that really is true though, because when the guy holds it like that, I think that about him. That's crazy.
Okay, I'm not understanding the correlation here, but
Like for example, one of them would be like you pinch the filter,
like with the index and thumb,
and then the
That's
hold
the-
is you're holding it around like this.
like inside your palm.
Yeah,
That's.
and
I don't want to say what kind of hold that is.
And the
I know what that's really for.
the idea that was posed was like this person lives on the edge. Maybe they're a little bit of a pyromaniac, aka they're keeping the flame in the palm of their hand, and they're living on the edge. And I was like, yeah, kind of. And then like the traditional continental hold,
Yeah, the index and the middle finger. That's the good one.
Yeah, it like indicates confidence, usually an American, by the way. I was like, yeah, that is very American.
And then if you have it just in your mouth all the time, you're a Chinese cook. Cooking that wok, smoking that cigarette, getting a little ash in there for a little extra flavor. Or you work at NASA. Did you remember that? I think we learned about this or something. It was like in like the 50s or 60s or something. NASA was doing in research on like air makeup, and they were like, "Bro, why is there so much nicotine?" They were smoking in the fucking lab.
It turns out our atmosphere is like 3% nicotine.
More like 40. like I'm talking lots of nicotine, bro.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Who knew? Planet Nick.
Don't be smoking in the lab, bro. What are you doing?
I almost
Leave
don't
it to the
believe
Chinese
that,
chefs.
though, because as we all know, the
Yeah.
only people who worked at NASA in the 50s and 60s were black women.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. According to the narrative.
By the way, not prolific smokers. That's not a group of people I think of when I think of cigarette smokers.
Was this the group that was like looking at the stars or something? I can't remember.
Nah, it's the fucking fake history, like entirely made up, by the way, movie Hidden Figures that everyone just seems to think is true because it was pitched as based on a true story, and it's like, okay, yeah, they were there, but they weren't actually doing any of the space science.
Okay, well, there was a woman. There's a play about a woman that does something with stars or something. That's real. That's based on a true story. So that there is something. I don't know if she was black. She was a woman.
I'm gonna get up on my soapbox here. Mm-hmm. We need to cancel based on a true story. It can be the flimsiest beginning to a premise. And everyone has this natural assumption. It's a phrase that leads you into the assumption that this is based in this is mostly reality.
I'm not gonna lie to you, a horror movie with a based on a true story at the beginning makes it that much scarier.
Fun. I mean, if you need it for the kayfabe, whatever. But at the same time, it's like there wasn't literally a guy wearing people's skins running around cutting them up in Texas.
Well, that one's not based on a true story, is it?
I'm pretty sure it is, brother. Aren't they all?
I think that one's made up. There's like The Conjuring, I think, is supposed to be real, somewhat.
That's a documentary. Everyone knows you're not allowed to lie about demons.
Everyone knows demons are real. We're bringing back demons. You're gonna get so tired of winning all the demons. There's so many. They're gonna come and take over the governments. We're gonna give them new jobs. We're firing everyone else.
Jesus. Okay, Lib. You didn't realize we were getting libbed out of here.
Yeah, get ready to get libbed out on. I guess maybe before we get libbed out on, we should talk a little bit about my big question, maybe, before we get into the deeply do.
Fucking hit me with it.
So this is kind of like asking you a couple questions, because I kind of want to just talk about it, because it was really cool. I watched a video about how history is taught in this country versus other countries in some subjects.
All right.
So let's start with the easy one. The American Revolution. So you know how it's taught. Everyone knows how it's taught in America. I think most of our audience is American. We do have a few people that aren't, but for quick American context, how is it taught in America?
I mean, you could kind of just sum it up as like, America, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
It's just badass shit the whole time. Throwing off the yoke of oppression, getting rid of taxation without representation, throwing tea in the harbor, and the French were kind of there too.
It's very important, right?
It's
American,
foundational.
Yeah, and there's a lot of heroes that come out of that story, right?
Yeah.
Paul Revere.
George Washington was a war hero before he was a president.
George Washington. All of them, you know. And then in the UK, how is it taught?
The king sucked, and all they wanted to do was extract wealth from us. They thought that we would be vassals forever and ever, and that we never could rise up against them. They were like, he will never, a guy eating cereal, they will never rise up against us. America, revolutions.
Okay, so no, it's not taught like that.
No, there's no way.
Yeah, it's a quick blurb basically. They focus a lot on the French aspect, because the 7-Year War was right before, which we know as the French Indian War. I think, right?
Yeah.
The stinkiest war. Yes. We love Nick Button. Yes. Anyway, so it's taught more with the French context in the UK, and it's less about the revolution, really. Like, they're just kind of like, yeah, our colony became its own thing.
I mean, that makes sense, especially, it's because, monetarily, we were in rough shape to wage war at that scale. Especially not being a proper nation up until after that. Where's the tax base? Where's the war chest? Turns out it came entirely from France, pretty much.
Yeah, France decided to help us.
Big ups to France. I know I've said a lot of things about France.
And some of our ideas transferred to France, and the French Revolution happened. And in the UK and Europe, the French Revolution was way more important than ours.
Yeah. I mean, it had more fucking consequences for the European continent. So
Yeah, and it led to Napoleon, right? So
one of the best to ever do it.
one of the only successful French guy, you know.
I mean, in terms of politics.
In terms of like winning, you know. And then 1812, the War of 1812. This one's interesting. So in America, you know how it's taught, right?
Yeah. I do know how it's
Does
done.
it quick context?
Why I did context on the last one.
Okay, fine. It's usually like a couple days. It's not as big as the Revolution. It's only taught for like a couple days, and you're like, okay. And then like there's the cool Andrew Jackson battle that happened after the war. Technically, was over. That one was pretty cool, and like we kind of skip over the burning of the White House. We don't really talk about that one as much. The British, they don't really talk about the War of 1812 at all. Like they just don't.
Why would you?
But you know who does talk about the War of 1812 a lot?
Who's that?
Canadians. Because if you remember, Canada and America were at war then.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, the Canadians. We were fighting all along the border, and the Canadians have so many heroes out of that war. Like you know how we have all the Paul Revere's and stuff from the Revolution. They have a bunch of heroes from the 1812.
Like Buddy McGuy.
Okay. Yeah, buddy, pal, dude.
Doug Hooser. Oh, you can't forget You Betcha.
Okay. Well, I don't remember all the heroes and what their names were, but I'm just telling you it's true.
There's also John Sorey.
We have Canadian listeners done.
Yeah, the women too. Janet Hockey.
Janet Poutine. And then World War II, the way we teach it, you know how we teach it. And then the Japanese, how they teach it. And so in the Japanese, in one of their textbooks, it's only 19 pages for that whole thing. I think they mention the atomic bomb in like one sentence. And it just kind of is framed in a way like one day America just dropped a bomb on us. And then what's even crazier, in Russia, they teach that they were the ones that beat Japan. Because Russia came through Manchuria and defeated Japan there, and we're coming that way, while we just went ahead and bombed them. Obviously, we won. We beat Japan. I say we as in the United States.
Yeah,
but Russia claims that they had a way bigger part in it.
They totally did, actually.
But was it
way bigger than most people would believe? And a lot of what made Japan so weak in the Pacific Theater, which is we fought our way up the island hopping campaign.
Yeah, we went through the ocean.
Which was fucking bloody tough, man. I think we're still in the middle of, because the anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima is weeks long. There's a week-long period of taking that island. I think we're still in the middle of the anniversary of that. But no, I mean, we talked about this in the Nanking episode. One, of course, they're not going to talk about America a whole lot.
They're not going to talk about their atrocities either.
Yeah, but a lot of their fighting was in both southern and northern China. Northern China ended up being mostly against Russians, and they were dominant in land war. It was like really crazy how fast Japan was able to get in there, hold some territory, and then what they would do, they would build the railways out just as fast as possible. So talk about holding supply lines and like good troop movement. Imagine you could just chugga choo-choo fresh bodies to the front line instead of having to ruck them out there.
But like, obviously Japan's not going to talk about what they did to people, you know?
Well, yeah, but regardless, I would say where most of their focus was not so much in holding the islands, which they did admirably well. We really fought tooth and nail for every inch.
Are you kidding me? They held it to the last man.
Yeah, that's what
they never surrendered. Japanese don't surrender.
I'm giving them credit, dude.
Well, at least back then they didn't.
But in terms of what they were focused on, in terms of acquisition of territory and resources, China. They wanted China. So, I mean, they were by the time we're.
So you're trying to give Russia more credit. I see you.
I mean, yeah.
But we beat Japan.
We finished them.
Like Russia did not.
We took them out. Russia did a lot for us. They did a lot. That's all I'm saying. Credit where it's due all around. The Japanese did a lot. The Russians did a lot. Everybody did a lot in that war, okay?
Well, anyway, the last subject is 9/11. So 9/11 in the United States, do you know how that's taught? I feel like you don't, because we kind of lived through it. So let me just tell you. So now it's in textbooks, okay? And it's taught on 9/11. And in America, it's mostly focused just on like the shock factor and the emotional response. Usually guest speakers will come in that were like, that saw it happen. They're like, oh man, this is where I was.
The world stopped turning.
Yeah. And then in the Middle East, can you imagine how it's taught? I say Middle East, but you know what I mean. All the, you know, Muslim countries, I guess would be a great way to phrase it, like Pakistan and stuff like that. It is taught heavily with the context, like the Iraq War and shit, and like how America came in and used it as an excuse. And I think it's taught with a little bit of the context beforehand as well, but in the Middle East, it's framed heavily anti-America.
Well, I mean, all you have to do to understand, like the groundwork that was laid for something like 9/11 happening, it was going to happen no matter what. That it didn't have to be the World Trade. It didn't have to be the Pentagon. Something big was going to happen no matter what, and it's all in Saddam. I believe it was Saddam. No, it was Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden's open letter to the West. It's all there. It all makes sense.
And speaking of the Pentagon, just real quick tangent, because there's one more thing I have to say about this. But the guys that work in the McDonald's at the Pentagon, tell us what's happening in there.
Hey, don't even. Stu's got it handled.
Tell me what's going on there.
No, silly Stu.
And then lastly, 9/11 though taught in China. Okay, the way it's taught in China is that America was losing its power. That 9/11 symbolizes the fall of America. Like they're like our superpower, I guess. Like our influence started fading because we started becoming less powerful or whatever afterwards. Is how China teaches it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not like the most egregious framing, I would say. I mean, it started what is to date our least popularly supported war campaign. If we have a 20 years war now too, that's great. Not, but no, there was like the least amount. Like there's a lot of public support at first, both organic and astroturfed. But I mean, looking back on it, especially, I think more people look unfavorably on the on the Middle East war than they do on Vietnam, and that's saying something. It really is. And like all the consequences of the past 2 decades and our conduct and involvement in the world after 9/11 has led to, I mean, we're right now in the middle of the emerging of the multipolar world, which some of what we'll get into today is going to point to that.
But I still think, don't you think we have the best military?
Yeah, I mean, how do you want to measure it? Any way you measure it, it's pound for pound dominant.
Yeah, okay. Just wanted your opinion on that.
But in terms of being like,
guys, don't feel unsafe. America's fine.
Yeah, no, we're fine. That's not what I'm trying.
In terms of the world stage, we're fine.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not trying to say like we're in trouble, but when you talk about influence, when you talk about like literally being the ones who dictate all of the parameters of global politics, yeah, 9/11 is a pretty good. If you're going to point to any one event and say this was the beginning of the end of the U.S., you know, literally setting all the terms for everything everywhere, that's a pretty good one to point to.
Well, what I don't get is why everybody hates Russia so much. Like they hate them, but they're okay with China.
Oh, see, then there's not a lot of people out there that are okay with China.
Really?
Not like me.
I thought Biden was okay with China.
No, dude, it's fucking. Everyone is just well, here's how it goes. For our establishment, anyway, which is largely corrupt and doesn't really understand shit about fuck. But
does not understand a little bit of shit about the fuck. Very confused.
I am quite eloquent, but the way it works, if you're an establishment politician in America, and there's a D next to your name, your team Russia bad. And if you're an establishment politician in America and there's an R next to your name, your team China bad. And if you're a normal guy who doesn't really pay attention to any stuff, you just kind of assume that both of them are bad because all you ever hear about them is that they are bad.
Okay.
But then you start looking into stuff and you're like, well, China's gonna China. China's just always doing its own thing. It will forever do its own thing. As long as we stay on relatively good trade terms with them, we're never going to have a problem.
Okay, interesting.
And then you start looking into Russia, and you're like, holy shit. Europe has such a hate boner for Russia. And when I say Russia, it's not even necessarily borders. It's like geographically, what is Russia? Like the whole coalition, the fucking 37 ethnicities that all speak the Russian language. They don't all look the same, but they're united through language, and they've constantly had their territory infringed upon, taken from them. They've been constantly harassed by Europe, just over and over and over.
Nobody wants Siberia, though.
No, nobody. But, who knows? Fucking, have we used LiDAR in Siberia yet? How many rare earth metals could there be up there? Maybe a lot. Maybe some ones that we haven't even really discovered yet.
Deep in the gulags.
Maybe we got to make some room on that periodic table there.
We gotta mine diamonds.
But yeah, like the only reason to even say that Russia is bad is just to continue the European tradition of hating Russia, and I mean it goes back to the Cold War as well. Like obviously communism was bad, and it's only worked in one place ever, and we know what that place is. That place is
Vietnam.
So, I guess it works there.
Of course it happens to the French colony.
Yeah. Almost worked in Cuba, but that was, we've been over why that was the case. But they're not communism anymore. So what's the problem? Why are we still antagonizing them? Why are they still bad? Like, they have a lot to offer the world.
What, Cuba?
No, Russia.
Oh, Russia, yeah.
I mean, Cuba does too.
Well, Russia's been, suffering.
Yeah.
Because all the credit card companies pulled out and stuff. Like they're in sanctions and stuff. They're suffering,
and they're still winning their war. Like
that's right. That's right.
The entire Western world is done basically everything except directly militarily attack Russia.
Everything that they can do, right?
Including bolstering its opponent, and Russia's still winning. So I don't know. I think we need to make nice with Russia. I think there's no need in Big 25. We need to get rid of this politics of opponents. There should be no opponents on the global stage.
Right. Let's not have any more wars. Let's try to work things out amicably, shall we?
Yeah. If you're worried about a lot of our economic success is that military-industrial complex. You guys are smart. You guys have all the fabrication stuff. Get into space.
Let's fight aliens.
Do you know how safe I would feel on a Lockheed Martin rocket?
Okay.
Do you know
Can you give some context on that?
Lockheed Martin makes fighter jets and shit.
Yeah.
So
if they made a rocket,
get into space. I take a moon vacation on a Lockheed Martin rocket with Raytheon radar sensors so that I know that my course is plotted true amongst the stars.
Oh my god.
Okay? And what if there's hostile alien boarding parties? What if they lock onto our ship and come in?
Yeah, I want to go on a moon base.
Yeah, that's okay. Oh, fuck, I can't think of an American gun manufacturer.
Oh, dude, you just reminded me of Smith & Wesson, maybe?
Yeah, Smith & Wesson shotguns.
You reminded me of a joke I wanted to say.
All right.
It's a dumb joke.
Yes.
Imagine that there's a guy with a sexual disorder that when he ejaculates lumber. Okay? And he's invited onto a cruise ship for people with sexual disorders. Do you know what he says when he comes to get on the ship?
What's that?
Permission to come aboard.
Wow, fantastic. Very good. Wow.
Get a pity laugh.
Ha
Well, thank you.
Doctor.
Doctor. That's what I thought was coming next, honestly. I was like, yeah, right? But yeah, dude, that would be crazy. If you were going to focus on space now, that would be actually sick. Because that would be like threats to humanity. Like, that would kind of unite the globe in that.
Yeah.
But it's not like I don't think there's an alien threat at the moment. I don't think. But like, dude, if we could all unite to make ourselves a level 1 civilization, I'm about that.
Dude, that would be sick as fuck.
I'm not about this gain of function bullshit that we're doing. I'm not about that. But I am about the world uniting to do space. I mean, I'm about that and,
Yeah.
controlling our resources and the climate. That sounds pretty cool.
It's crazy, too. You say gain of function or whatever.
Yeah, because the world did come together for that. I don't think that was very good.
No, that's the only possible end that can achieve is like a mass culling of the global population, which is bad. It's bad, okay?
Well, they say we're overpopulated, Doug. I just think that maybe it's okay,
But that wouldn't even have a use going to space because you got to kind of operate off the smallpox effect, as I like to call it. Like if we come into contact with an alien civilization, probably just our regular diseases will do fine at getting them sick and killing them.
But what about us getting their diseases?
We can't control what they're doing. We can't control what they got. You know what? It's often futile to say this because it's usually younger men who make this kind of first contact. But the best advice you can give is just don't stick your dick in aliens. Just don't do it, brother.
Yeah. Okay, you give that advice. Wrap it before you tap it.
I don't know. I don't know if condom technology goes that far.
Just use a fucking towel. You do dry sex.
Brother, let's not send Africans, please.
Aliens land in Africa. It's their first point of contact. They're like, these guys don't know anything. Why are they living in huts? What's going on?
Dude, what if they're just like coming by all the time, but that's the only spot they be landing?
That or like South America or some shit. They're like, bro, what is going on here?
Man, another good one is what if they tried to come recently, but it was back to their original home bases, the Egyptian pyramids, and they couldn't because Mr. Beast had rented them out for 100 hours. and they had to go. They were on a schedule.
the aliens show up and they're like, "Oh, you guys are filming? My bad." Like, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't mean to step on toes. Sorry.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Sorry, Jimmy.
What, you think they don't get Mr. Beast in space?
You're so right. They totally get all of our shit. Yeah. Do you remember that Futurama episode where like the aliens were watching the old like law show?
Yeah.
Yeah, like because all of our shit we send out, the radio waves and stuff, like they can see it all.
I don't understand. Why doesn't the bigger lawyer simply eat the smaller, inferior lawyer?
But yeah, dude, like I think that sounds actually so sick. Like, what if we did focus on space after this and like we no longer have astronauts stranded on a space station? We care about people and we make some sort of defense network around the world. You know, we have Starlink from Elon.
Yeah.
But instead, it's like a bunch of fucking lasers, like to protect the world.
Yeah, we don't need to imagine that. We just need to simply ask a certain group of people to point their lasers in the opposite direction.
I see what you're saying, yeah. And I know who that certain group of people is, too.
We all do.
And Mossad won't be down for that, but...
Well, hey, now you're conflating two things here, okay?
Yeah, I was kidding. Okay,
It's
right.
very important to separate.
Yeah, is it?
The Jewish space lasers aren't necessarily owned by Israel.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Okay, heard that.
Jews operate worldwide, brother.
What's that? Marjorie
Taylor
Greene. We're picking up where you left off, okay?
It's very funny. They try to give her the MTG, like they try to give her like the 3-letter political lady acronym. The most famous one to do it would have been Ruth Bader Ginsburg. There was a lot of RBG.
Not AOC?
AFC hopped onto that, obviously. Everything she's ever done politically is opportunistic and not to be trusted. But MTG, brother, guy like me, that's Magic the Gathering.
It sure is. It sure is, Doug. That's the way more popular acronym.
So just unfortunate move. One, you're doing it's a lib coded thing. I'm sorry, the 3-lettered name, it's lib coded.
The 2 examples we've listed were both libs, yeah.
Yeah. So wrong move to pull as an R, Marjorie. You can't be doing that. Can't be doing that lib crap. And
Just
then,
with her name, like,
and then also somebody already has that one. You're 0 for 2. Sorry, babe.
Damn. Speaking of libs, bro.
Yeah.
Libs have been freaking out. They hate Elon, bro.
Dude.
They think he just wants to say slurs on Facebook. Like, I don't understand.
Actually, that's like so cringe because I would never be caught dead on Facebook.
And they also hate. Oh, that's pretty solid. They also hate the fact that he's finding corruption.
Yeah, man.
Like, what? Why are you mad about that?
It's very interesting, the kinds of people that we're talking about here. Sorry, if you're a more left-leaning kind of gal or guy, check out. This is the shit on libs corner. Libs suck. But no, the kind of person who's getting mad about this doesn't really know what they're mad about or why they would personally be mad. They just know to get mad.
There's no to get. Okay, they're just like, I love being outraged.
Yeah, I watched Channel 5, Andrew Callahan. So he did some coverage at what was explicitly an anti-Elon Musk rally. And they were like complaining about all these things that you mentioned, and none of it was detailed in the slightest. It was, one guy really got me good. He's just like, this is ridiculous. There's condoms we need to be sending to Africa. Like that was his whole thing. It was like, he didn't care. He didn't care how much it costed. It was like, this aid needs to go out.
We need to do gender studies in Sudan.
fucking Islamic Sesame Street, or wherever they did Sesame Street, but which was really funny. I saw some clips of that, and it was literally, you would have thought it was parody. You would have thought that this was somebody in the West on like Mad TV or something.
Yeah.
But it was like Elmo and Bert. No Ernie. Ernie was nowhere in sight, which makes sense. But
how does that make sense? What?
Well, everyone knows Ernie's gay.
Oh, because you can't have Ernie and Bert living together? You can't do that in Islam?
Well, see,
it was Bert and a goat. They were living together.
Probably, but in this how I imagine it going, Bert, he follows Islam.
20 wives.
He stays in his Quran,
prays to Mecca 5 times a day.
Prays for good things, respects and adores the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
Inshallah, brother.
God willing. So, Bert, he's not going to associate with Ernie. There was never, in the Islamic Sesame Street fucking multiverse, Bert and Ernie was never, they just don't, he would
how
stay
is
away.
How is Oscar the Grouch framed?
That I would love to know. But
living in a trash can.
To close this one off here, because I could talk about this stuff all day. I love Sesame Street.
Okay. Brother loves Sesame Street.
They need to get some new numbers and letters. It's been like 40 times that the number of the day's been 3. Crazy.
Can we get to like 24? Like, can we?
There's so many numbers. They need a shot. But I'm talking, they gave him aggressive, furry, black eyebrows. And when I say aggressive, I mean like that. And then bushy ass. Bushy is the word, not furry. But bushy eyebrows and turbans. And they were yelling about something. The two of them, Elmo and Bert. They're wearing turbans. And they're yelling about something and gunshots are going off. And then it clips to a car bombing.
What?
And I guess that Sesame Street was teaching about the jihad.
Yeah, but like Sesame Street is supposed to be for kids. Why are we showing them car bombs?
Are you saying that kids can't learn about the jihad? Brother. Open your mind to other
I
cultures.
feel like maybe we shouldn't be teaching kids violence. I don't know.
Hey, that different cultures, brother.
Different cultures.
So
Chalk it up to that.
yeah, definitely a good thing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on.
I like how you were like, yeah, there's gunshots and then it went to a car bomb. That was the Sesame Street. It's not the Sesame Street I love.
So
This was that Robin Williams on. He's supposed to make funny jokes at Elmo.
but yeah, just all this stuff in the world, all this money going out, all these causes going out, they're not paying out. They're like they're just not going to good things.
For most of it, yeah.
Like the two examples we gave,
Yeah.
kind of bad to use Muppets for jihad. Two, I don't know what you know about. We've discussed some of the sex culture globally, but a lot of the sex culture globally, they will still. You can tell them all you want to. You try to make the case for it all you want. Condom usage isn't happening. So fucking hundreds of thousands of pounds of rubber, hundreds of millions of dollars, completely going to waste. And then you can name all these other little pet causes that are getting their own blank check, essentially. Turns out, one, if you go and actually investigate with boots on the ground, people in these countries and places, one, most people don't even know it's happening. So it's not really a soft power exercise at that point.
Yeah.
Two, a lot of the times, the projects don't even come to fruition, and it just ends up lining some local bigwigs' pockets.
Yeah.
So it's money laundering, point blank, period.
Yeah.
Which is again also happening with a lot of internal causes as well. It's an insane parade of blank checks that is getting endlessly
And
passed
it's
out.
the taxpayers' money.
It is. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Why
Why are we mad about this, Libs? What's going on? You want to talk about it?
It's classic refuse to look into it syndrome, and it's also a refusal to understand, because without looking into it at all, I mean, anybody who receives a paycheck and looks at it can be like, I don't think that I should be getting taxed at this rate. I mean, most people's paychecks, easy, like off the top, 20% skimmed, and that's every single pay period.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you got to file a return and potentially pay more. I don't think so, buddy. I don't know what you're doing with all this money, but it can't be good.
Well, now that we know.
So, not a whole lot of detailed things to say there on that, honestly.
Yeah, just, guys, like, I'm kind of laughing that people are upset about finding out that it's like, oh, we're getting rid of the corruption. No! It's just so stupid.
And to be clear, let's be fairly handed here. This is shitting on libs. These are shit libs. It's its own special kind of stupidity. It does exist on the other side of the aisle. There's plenty of conservatards.
Yeah, and I think they're trying to make the bureaucracy more streamlined, is kind of what they're trying to do. Because the government is so huge and inefficient.
Yeah. I mean,
I think Elon stated something where like you have to list like 5 accomplishments that you make every week.
well, it was like a sort of a shit test where it was like, hey, this week, in the past week, 5 things you did. And they didn't have to be special, didn't have to be huge. It just had to be, the most important thing was 1, responding to it. And then 2, like, he admitted this even after the controversy around it. It was like, it was so simple. It could have been like,
Send an email.
I did these parameters of my job. I did this amount of communication. I refined. You could say that I refined an organizing system for more efficient filing, and it was like you personally in your computer, like organizing. Like it could have been 5 anything. It was like, are you capable? Are you capable of quantifying 5, like a week's worth of work, basically?
Right.
And a lot of people a lot of them outright refuse to, which has begun resulting in terminations. And then there were certain examples where it was not appropriate for Doge to be asking that kind of thing. Specifically, the Department of Defense. Like, it might be...
Those accomplishments might be state secrets.
Well, that and the evaluation and operational parameters for the DoD, like, are all within the DoD for a reason. Like, it almost borderline, it functions in parallel with the rest of the government. Like, there's certain amounts of oversight, but it is largely autonomous for very important reasons. So, obviously, the people in charge of the DoD sent out their own mass email and be like, hey, none of you respond to that. We're gonna stay the course here.
Okay.
So, but yeah, just to be clear, I know we framed this as shit in the libs, but like, there's plenty of retardation on the con side as well. Like,
and then we need to talk about what happened on Friday.
brother, oh man.
So I talked about it on that Facebook post
Yeah.
from a couple weeks ago about how America was going to only give aid to Ukraine if they provided like minerals and stuff back, right? So that's kind of the context. So Zelensky went to meet with Trump in the White House, right?
Yeah.
And what happened?
Oh, we can play a little bit of it here.
Oh, you have something?
Yeah, I have some of it.
Good and very strong. You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war,
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
Not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you don't
Very
have to play
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
of
of
war.
millions of people.
You see?
You're gambling with World War III.
So,
They were like having a fight on the news. They were like having a literal fight on the news, but not like a physical fight, but like a argument. And then it was public for everyone to see. And then Zelensky got kicked out of the White House.
kicked out. I don't think in my lifetime I've ever heard of anybody getting trespassed from the White House.
Yeah, because he just refused to sign the deal.
Yeah.
It just said, "Give us aid, give us aid."
Yeah, I can't think in history of ever hearing, looping this all the way back around to the start of our political discussion. I can't think of a time in history where someone has been, like a dignitary like this, has been kicked out. A fucking head of state showed his ass so hard that the president had to kick him out. And so it's monumental. We truly are living on the edge of history.
Yeah, things just happen now, Doug.
Yeah, turns out you can just do things.
Yeah, things just kind of occur now.
But, yeah, so full context, Zelensky in town, in D.C., in the country, to sign a deal that would be the beginning of the peace process for the Russian-Ukraine war. Now, that is a war, officially, declared in everything. And it seemed to be going well at first. If a lot of people, obviously, you're only going to see the clips from the fight, and there's some good moments from that fight. Fans hit Zelensky with have you even said thank you once for this country that has supported you? And
like he also didn't want a peace treaty.
no.
So how do you win? What do you mean? What do you want? You want to take over Russia? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, Zelensky clearly not interested in peace. That was Trump's take on it, and as someone who watched the whole thing, which was a very dry first 40 minutes, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what am I doing here? But, yeah, none of it seemed like Zelensky was in for peace or whatever. Honestly, he gave the impression that he thought the president changing meant nothing, that he could just keep doing what he had been doing with the Biden administration, including, like, and I'm not the biggest formal wear guy. I don't think that we maybe need to be wearing suits or whatever. However, I think when you're trying to come and beg for like a continuation of even more money after the $350 billion you've already gotten, maybe you put on a suit then. Especially when it's a guy like Trump, business guy, old school guy. He's gonna appreciate a suit. Mocked Zelensky when he showed up, by the way. That car rolled up and he was waiting for him at the White House door. And he comes out in his gay little turtleneck, not dressed at all for the occasion. And Trump goes, shakes his hand, he's like, then he points at him, looks at a reporter, laughs, and says, "Look at him, all dressed up today, isn't he?" In a mocking tone, you know.
Oh my gosh.
So, just not a very serious guy, Zelensky.
He was dressed up like, what's that guy's name? Steve Jobs. Right?
I guess.
Was he wearing New Balance?
But, I really liked this write-up. I don't usually like this guy or his opinions, but credit to him, he did a good write-up here. So, from Richard Hanania, I'm going to go through and just paraphrase.
Yeah.
But with the full context of this, you had 40 minutes of calm conversation, around which point Vance made a comment about like something involving Putin, and Zelensky decided that it was less about what Putin was, and it was somehow an attack on him, and began trying to lecture Vance, at which point that dispute started to flare up, and Zelensky...
You don't hold the cards right now.
Yeah, well, Zelensky started saying, like, you don't feel the pressure right now, you don't feel how bad it is, but you will feel it, implying that...
World War III?
Yeah, implying that somehow the war would come to America, and started telling Trump how he would feel, and it was a little before in the clip. He's like, "You're not going to tell us how we feel. We're going to feel strong. We're going to feel great." It was, you know, very serious, but still that Trump humor that we love. And then Zelensky harping on like Russia being the invader here, and just really trying to make it clear that there was no peace, essentially. He's just all war mode, war-minded, insisting that it doesn't matter what kind of deal gets made because Russia will always infringe. Just like not historically the case. It's really not that true. And just wouldn't back down. Would not back down at all.
Europe's gonna have to support him.
Yeah, and fine by me. You know, it's in reaction to this, more interesting than the thing happening in and of itself was sort of the fallout from it, because you have the whole entire Western cadre of world leaders start taking to Twitter and saying this and that, and all trying to be Team Zelensky, and a bunch of heads of state met up in Europe, like either Friday or yesterday, to start discussing some of this, and essentially beginning to shut the U.S. out. Interesting military action that took place. One of our submarines tried to fuel its backup generator, which we have nuclear submarines, but they have diesel backup generators just in case.
Right.
They tried to fill up their diesel in Norway, and Norway turned them away. This is the first time ever that a NATO country has refused a resupply to another NATO country.
Yeah.
So, message sent, message received.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I only need one stock to beat you. I'm better than you. What was the message? I can't remember. Oh, tough. But, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're moving to a multipolar world. Okay? And, you know, the U.S., we're not going to dictate everything, whether it's from people that we can't necessarily impose our force over, like a China. I think China's like the only one that we really couldn't fully impose upon. Probably Russia as well. But, or countries that are going to start choosing to shut us out, like the EU. And, I mean, I see, if things keep going like this, within 3 years, we're not going to be a part of NATO anymore, which...
That would be insane. We're the ones that founded NATO.
Yeah. So really, we'll be in NATO. We'll start they can go start their own NATO.
Yeah.
How about that? Let's kick them out of NATO. But and on top of that, I mean, shit, we might not even be in the UN in 3 years.
And then, can we talk about how the libs, they love Zelensky? Yeah. It's like they think Trump's gonna stop elections, you know, because he's and then they're like, Zelensky literally stops elections.
Yeah.
They're like, this guy's great.
They love the guy who won't hold an election.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I thought we were against fascism, libs.
Yeah, I thought you were into democracy. I'm so confused.
You know what I figured out about that, by the way?
What?
They think it's only democracy. Like, they're so simple. They're so simple-minded and frail. They see democracy, and then they see that Democrat has most of those same letters, and Republican doesn't have most of those same letters. They think it's only democracy when it's Democrats. They're that dumb.
The whole point of
Fucking
democracy is that there are two parties, actually, and that we can actually...
Fucking hate libs, dude. Fuck. I'm calling for total lib death, TLD.
There's your depopulation. Nah. He's joking, guys. He's joking, guys.
This is, if you take this seriously, you're redacted.
There was one more thing that was on my radar.
Oh, yeah?
Is there anything else you want to talk about
I mean,
before I get into it?
yeah.
Go ahead.
Fucking. Okay, we'll roll this all into one because we're gonna get two things in here. So first of all, in the world of sex trafficking and lawsuits, two big things. Turns out the government is not going to be giving us anything new on Epstein. The beginning of the Epstein files rollout has been dog shit. One of the official government accounts tweeted out a shortened URL about it, like, here, check these out for yourselves. These are the files that we gave out to reporters today, but you can look at them too. And the shortened link was, I bet you can't guess what this link was.
Where it took you?
Yeah. What do you think this link was? I'll tell you a hint. It wasn't any files.
I don't know.
It was a Rickroll. They Rickrolled.
It went to Rick Astley.
Never gonna give you up.
You're kidding.
I wish I was, brother.
The government Rickrolled us?
Yes. So that happened, and then the binders of files that they gave out were just things that already existed, things that are already collated and documented somewhere else that somebody had redacted over. So not only was it old information, it was old and worse. It was like, they're not protecting anything, by the way, because all those phone numbers and stuff were already out there, all those names were already out there. So they're not giving us anything new, and they're rickrolling us. There's no way we're getting anywhere with this Epstein stuff, so
Yeah.
that's a non-starter. Oh well. The other sex trafficking thing, Diddy's trial is officially off to its start at this point. His lawyer, who represented, another tying a thread back, a 9/11 plotter, he represented one of the 9/11 guys, all the way through, by the way. So that's the kind of lawyer this guy is. He does his job.
Yeah.
Not this time. He recused himself from the case. The trial started, and he's like, after looking at some of this stuff, there is no possible way I could continue with this trial. So, however bad we think this stuff was, it's worse. What did he do?
Yeah.
What did he do? So yeah, that's
man.
the two hot updates out of the sex trafficking world, if you will.
Yeah. It kind of makes me think about this other thing that happened. Nardwuar went to jail for wiretapping.
How did he know?
Because how does he know? You know, maybe that's how he knows some stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
And then my other thing that wasn't this.
Yeah.
I'm teasing it, but I'm getting ready to put together another topic-based episode. And I want to get it in before it's too late, so that it can end on a note of hope. Have you seen this World of T-shirts guy?
See, real quick, I was just gonna say, do. I'm tapping your phones. Whatever. Anyway, yeah, I've not seen World of T-shirts guy.
All right. So he's a TikToker, obviously, and he might not be alive for much longer because he got diagnosed with pancreatitis. And I guess the context you would need here is, like, nowadays he's mostly known for heavily consuming alcohol, among other things. Got diagnosed with pancreatitis, left the hospital, immediately started drinking again, which is basically signing your own death sentence.
So he's doing it to himself.
in a lot of ways, it's complicated. It's very complicated, which is why I want to do a whole episode about it.
Okay.
But if we do it while he's alive, you can end on a maybe he does get better now. And you do it after he's dead, and you're like, and no one stopped, and he couldn't stop himself. Like,
Oh my God.
it's just too sad a note to end on. But I'm putting together that.
Okay.
It's just, you know.
Look forward to that in the future, insertionist.
But writing on the wall, dude. Pancreatitis and won't even take a break. A man after my own heart.
Well, let's. Are you? Can I?
Yeah.
Perfect. Because you know me, I love shitting on Hassan, and so more Hassan.
Give
news
it
has come
a
out.
rest.
But it's
dude.
funny. But it's funny.
To you.
Yeah, to me, and that's what matters. Okay, Hassan this past week went on the Trash Taste podcast. Do you know what the Trash Taste podcast is?
Yeah, is the #1 anime podcast on the internet.
That's right, listener. The #1 anime podcast. Okay? The #1 anime podcast in Japan. I'm not saying it's the #1 in Japan, but they're located in Japan. That podcast had Hassan on. Okay? Because Hassan was on Japan. But at the same time, what the fuck does he know about anime? I guess if the Houthi pirate was an alien.
He interviewed Luffy. But then, I mean, so...
I'm kind of spreading misinformation. I don't think that guy was actually a Houthi, but...
Nah, Trash Tate, like, when I hear Hassan and Trash Tate, I'm like, there's a meta pun. There's a meta commentary going on there. Like, you know, Hassan is Trash Taste.
Oh, okay, nice.
You know, to me, I'm like, yeah, okay. If you're focused on the subject matter of the show, maybe it's a reach, but I like the meta commentary there, personally.
Anyway, there's so much hate for Hassan, which is fucking hilarious. The comments were crazy on that episode. And then the dislike ratio is crazy. It was like 15K likes to 28K dislikes.
Yeah, I'm trying to get like that, honestly.
And then everyone was like commenting, how could you have this guy on your show? And so Hassan is on his stream and he's like, guys, it's a brigade, we gotta brigade them back. And he had his fans go and mass report their comments so they got deleted and shit. And it's just like, bro, like, you need to chill.
Yet another reason why there should be no method of reporting on any platform.
When you're controversial and talk about like all this kind of stuff, I'm not saying that necessarily Hassan is controversial, but he talks about controversial shit. So he kind of becomes controversial in that regard, right? Like people that talk about this kind of stuff, you kind of...
He's de facto controversial. He, in a Piers Morgan interview that he did one time, he straight up said that he conceives of himself as a propagandist.
Right.
Which is just fully radical. Like,
Right. So what I'm getting at though is that if you're someone like that, these podcasts and other media that are focused on like escapism, you know, like these topics that people like and want to listen to so they can get away from the real world, and you're bringing like politics into it. Like it was like 30 seconds. They're like, dude, you can't talk about politics. We're not talking about politics.
Jesus
Like,
Christ.
You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
This is just the natural the progression. And of course, people are going to backlash at you for going on a podcast that they don't want that to be involved in. And yeah, so I just think that's funny. I thought it was funny his crash out about they're brigading me. Let's brigade them back.
Yeah, that's
What an abuse of your power.
I mean, it's more like a fucking why have power if you're not going to use it, honestly. I can respect that play. However, at the same time, I guess I don't know what every site's TOS is, but I'm pretty Reddit-brained in the regard of, like, one of the major rules of Reddit is no brigading. Like, that breaks TOS. I imagine it would be a rule that most sites have. The brigading's bad.
Right. So, like, having discussion about content and saying content's bad over certain things, those are good discussions. You need to keep those. Because if you bottle them up, like if you delete them and like keep them from saying stuff, the hate's gonna get worse. At least let them get it out.
Exactly.
Especially if it's not personal attacks. If it's just like talking about the content, just let it flow. You probably learned something from it. Maybe I should change something.
Most internet shit blows over in a day anyway. So,
yeah.
I mean, someone goes to bed once and they forget. It's like, or they just realize, yeah, that was funny. Who cares? Like,
yeah.
You gotta not take a lot of stuff so seriously when it comes to that.
I just thought it was funny that Hassan had to freak out about being shit on for going on the Trash Days podcast.
Well, I mean, how else do you keep the attention going? You know, it's a very delicate dance. But, you know, game respect game. I'm trying to get like that someday. You know, I'm waiting for one clip to pop off.
We need to make an episode where we like target a creator and just say terrible shit about them and like play clips.
Oh man,
we need to be on the cusp of a story.
True. Let's keep our ear to the ground.
Yeah. Guys, you didn't hear that. Don't worry about what we're on. We got this.
Fucking
Mama, I made it. Content nuke. iDubbbz. Like that's like doing some crazy shit.
Oh, brother, that's one of those guys that you can't do anything to or about because he's already done it all to himself.
Well, that was a joke. I was just making a fake example, but
yeah, but I'm making something out of that example.
I think maybe we should do, Leafy, dude. Just kidding.
Dude, I think maybe we should part a shot. It's time. Get me out of here.
Okay. I think my shot is already kind of spoken for,
All right.
It's the same thing I tell you every week. Twitch.tv/Seth_Nacho411. This week we're only doing a stream on Monday because of circumstances, but it will be a long one. I'll make it a long one.
All right.
So everyone can enjoy it.
You got big plans on Fat Tuesday?
Not big plans. Fat Tuesday. Okay, yeah, on Mardi Gras. Yeah.
You're acting like the whole world doesn't know about Mardi Gras.
No, they know. But most people call it Carnival.
I would say probably not most people.
Oh, I feel like most people do.
Well, Brazil is not most people, brother.
It's a lot of people in Brazil.
It's a lot of people, but it's not most people.
Okay.
In a world of 9 billion, Brazil is not most of them. Come on,
You
man.
need to come to Brazil is what you need to do. We need to have an episode in Brazil.
A guy like me? No, I can't go to Brazil.
Yeah, parting shot, leave that comment, guys. When you're watching that video or whatever, use your proper etiquette, leave a great comment.
And send.
Yep, and don't be afraid to say some shit, because that's how we communicate in this world nowadays.
Do me a favor, pretend you're mad at the show, and then share it with people to also get mad at, and they can share it around, and yeah.
You trying to cancel a show?
Everyone get mad, okay? No one can get you. If you post through it, nobody can cancel you. That's the lesson that we've learned. So there's no such thing as canceling if you just stay on that horse.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
So.
But don't be afraid to leave that comment. Leave that comment. Engagement is good for the video.
And it's good for you.
It's good for the whatever you're looking at.
Yeah. Fucking.
They love comments.
If you live in a part of the world where you have at least nominally free speech, unless you use it, you don't.
Yeah, and you can talk about whatever you want. Doesn't even have to be what was in the video.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know what?
I've seen so many comments, I'm just like, okay, let's start doing it, guys.
I like that. Over here, you already know, it's your boy. If you didn't, then I can't help you. That's all I have to say about that. In terms of parting shots, this is a little two-parter. One, Robert Pattinson is about to do another movie, a really fun-looking movie, Mickey 17. This is me. I'm plugging the new movie. It's by that guy who did Parasite. He directed it, and it's kind of like Mr. Meeseeks the movie. Just the guy dies over and over again and keeps coming back, and should be kind of fun. It looks pretty comedic, honestly. We don't get a lot of comedies these days, so maybe Hollywood's healing. So that's cool. And then my other shot is that facts are just opinions with hats on.
Oh, okay.
Think about that.
Like a orange traffic cone hat.
Fucking multicolored propeller beanie. You want to name more hats, bud?
Really little. There's a hat I want from a certain company.
What hat is that?
Should I bring up the company name even though we're not? AppleRankings.com.
Yes, brother.
Send me a hat.
Send me a hat.
We will talk about your website more.
Just a whole
episode about apples.
The Apple Parade.
We call it, how do you like these apples? That's the episode title.
Dude, I like that idea. And I like this. Which is what I always like. And what I always tell you. Is you gotta chop wood, carry water, and most importantly, Xiaohongshu.